in Paris.
Good morning, Max. That's a very hot day, and I'm pretty good mood today. I'm just, ready to listen to whatever you got for me.
All right. Well, and the weather is nice here. It's warm. It's not quite hot. It's gonna get there, but we use this for talking through things and looking at it to see what we can learn about customer experience. Honestly, this time I just need the couch. I don't think there's anything redeeming to this story. I don't think there's any lessons to be learned. I just need to get this off my chest. It's been that painful. Wow. And not surprisingly, it's the Internal Revenue System, the IRS, our tax system that I've been dealing with. And
all right, so we're not even going to talk about a product you want to buy. That's a product you have to pay for.
Correct. It's something I have to pay, and boy, did I have to pay. I'm not going to get into the minutia of the thing I was talking about because that's a whole nother round of discussion. But I received a bill for a charge that I felt was ridiculous. It was several $100s for something that I just, $25 would be normally what you would expect to be charged. So what do you do? Well, there's a 800 number to call. So I called the 800 number. And actually, my wife started. She called a couple times and couldn't get through. I started calling. Between us that first day, we called over 20 times. And finally, my wife got through. It was then an hour in the queue. And then got to someone and they asked some questions. And, you need to talk to the billing dispute team. I'll transfer you. Can we get the number of the billing dispute team so if we need to call back, we can go straight to them? No, you're not allowed to call them directly. So then we got put on hold again. It was 6:00 in the evening. They close at 7. So I'm like, oh no, they're going to drop us. It actually kept us on the line until 7:30. Actually, it was 7:33. I was watching and there was a message, call dropped. So that was the first experience. It was 2 hours and led to a dropped call. Call back the next day. Now I'm just doing it, and I got so frustrated, and I started nerding out. I figured out the IVR and all the pauses and everything, so that I programmed it into my phone. So I would just hit that and it would go through the IVR for me. It was 2 minutes and 30 seconds just to get to the point in the queue where it told you the queue's full. You cannot wait for anybody right now. So I got through that. And eventually, actually in the morning this time, I was able to get through. This was Friday. They seemed to be a little quieter on Friday. I got through. I talked to Todd. And by the way, the agents were at least very polite and providing the best information they understood. I never had an agent where I was like, this person isn't doing what I would want. The agents were always very good. And Todd was amazing. Todd spent a half hour with me talking through things, and I didn't get transferred to this other team this time. He talked me through everything, said, okay, I've got a theory. He even said, I don't like putting people on hold, so I'm just going to leave you on the line and I'm going to do my research. Sometimes people get nervous because I don't say much while I'm doing that, but I'm here. If you're not sure I'm here, just say something and I'll respond. It was that kind of service. Providing me insight into what he was doing, what he was trying to do. We were now an hour and a half into the call. I was doing a presentation to about 100 people in 10 minutes. And I was, hey, I've got this coming up. I'm really going to have to get off. He said, okay, let me just do one more thing real quick. And then I'll tell you where we stand and what we need to do next. The call dropped. So I never heard where we stand, what we need to do next. Called back later that day, had a series of meetings, and finally in the afternoon, I had another window I could put 2 hours aside to do this stuff. called again, got a woman, again, very nice, not nearly as knowledgeable. And I think it was interesting. When you talk to people, you get different information. She talked about I called what was the collections number, but she was not in the collections team. I got to the point where I thought maybe this other guy was in the collections team. You're not allowed, there's no calling people back. They give you their ID. So I was thinking, oh, this is great. I can say I need to talk to person 123, whatever. But no, that's just if you're going to sue them, you can say who you talk to. Um, so I got
Because they probably got more lawsuits than actually cases solved. So that's
yeah,
probably why they
yeah,
do
yeah,
it that
yeah,
way.
exactly. And so I talked to the woman. She gave me this very long, complex. We need this documentation, this documentation, this documentation, and this documentation. You mail it to this address. They will respond within 9 weeks. And it turns out those people were going to be the same ones that are in the secondary queue that I can never get to. And she outlined all of this, and there were a couple of things about what she said where I was like, I don't know if I meet the letter of that. I really need to talk to somebody. But it was the end of the day, hung up, and that's where I was. That was Friday. So now Monday, yesterday morning, I started calling. 40 calls I finally got through in the afternoon. And this time I got someone who was, or actually I got someone who wasn't very knowledgeable, was helpful enough, and I ended up having to go to the billing team. So now I'm in the billing team queue. It's 5:30, and I know at 7:33 last time we tried this, they just ended it. So I took the dog for a walk. I watered the yard. There's no callback. So, I'm just on this thing waiting. I know their music by heart. I know their announcements by heart. And now it's creeping up on 7:30. My wife and I are having dinner, and I'm just like, oh God, it's not going to happen. 7:32, she picked up. And so I finally got a person in the billing group. She was very nice, very helpful, and unfortunately explained to me why this was not in their definition of a billing dispute, and therefore I could not contest it. There was nothing she could do. There was nothing anybody could do. And I'm just like, this is hundreds of dollars. My wife thinks I'm an idiot. My wife deserves to be mad at me, but it would have been much nicer to say, hey, honey, I solved it. There's really nothing. She says, no, there's just nothing you can do. And then we're kind of going through some logistics. She goes, what you should do, though, is a charge dispute. And I'm like, what? And she said, yeah, there's this other here. Let me give you, there's a mail-in address or a fax. And here's, and much less work than this other woman had wanted me to do on this other thing. And, you just pay it. And then you say, I think this charge is unfair. Here's why. And, they might give you some money back. I have no idea what that's going to do, but at least I have this dental floss thin thread to hold on to for my life with this. So that call was 4 hours. So I spent 10 hours on the phone with the IRS to get told no. So that's my tale of woe. It's not like the IRS should provide, well, they should provide better customer service, but they're understaffed. COVID has screwed everything up. I get it. But I had to live through that, and I just thank you. I just really had to talk it through.
Let's unpack it a little, because I'm sure there's still some stuff we can learn from it. First of all, the IRS invented the best loyalty program on earth, because there is no way you opt out.
Right.
And the beauty of it, I think that's very American. I'm not sure if other countries do this. The beauty of it is, even if you leave the country, you're still a loyal customer.
Right. That's true. That is very, very true. Yes.
So it's probably the best loyalty program on earth, considering the 100% rate of success for loyalty.
Maybe even better than the Communist Party.
And that's actually very lucky they have that rule, because otherwise, with this kind of customer experience, they'd have no one anymore.
True.
Now, Well, there are so many things you've said that we need to unpack. There is the fact that it took the first time 20 calls to just get through to someone. This is terrible. Normal company, you would think about callback features. You would think
Right.
about other options. You would think about giving people ahead of time before they even call, or in the first few seconds of the call, an estimate of how long it's going to take and whether it's worth calling back at a different time. You would have other options: send an email, send a
Right.
WhatsApp, send a Facebook message, whatever that is. You don't have any of that, but it's probably coming back to the fact that you're part of the loyalty program and there is no way out. So
Right. Right.
uh, call or accept it. There is also the fact that moving from one queue to the other has to be manual, and you have to go through the same front gate first, which is terrible for both the company and the customer for obvious reason. The company as well, because if that person, the gatekeeper becomes a bottleneck, making everything slower and increasing the burden on the front line's shoulders,
And,
there should be a
and that's a really interesting point because it was weirder than that. Every time I did that, a couple times I tried, I need the billing dispute team. And they were like, who are you? Well, what's your issue? They forced me through the conversation. Like I said, this one guy, he started solving it. So yeah, it wasn't just like this poor guy's got to validate me and then push me forward. It was, 15, 20, 30-minute calls before they said, oh yeah, I do need to send you there.
Well, and that goes back to many problems you can actually find in other companies. It's not an IRS specificity, I would say. There is a fact that you have stupid processes you cannot get out of. Processes are necessary for a contact center. You cannot live without processes, but
Correct.
you need to empower people to get out of the process when it doesn't make sense anymore. You could have a process as simple as, if you already have a case open, type your case number and we'll direct you to the last agent or to the right team, so that you kind of kill the gatekeeper while still making sure you don't let everyone reach out to that
Right.
person
Right.
in the future. So there could be something as simple as this. There's another problem, which is around training. The fact that you talk to 10 different people, you have 10 different conversations, is a serious issue. Means
Correct.
training has not been the same for everyone, which in a typical contact center would be a killer. Again, back to the loyalty program in
Right.
place. There is something funny. You know what? I'll tell you that story of mine next week, because there's something funny about you nerding around and trying to trick the IVR with your own system where you know exactly what to press at what time. If a customer had to get to that level, it means there's something fundamentally wrong with
Right.
the whole process.
Very much so.
Um, and then there is there's also something about lack of empowerment of agents, meaning even those that were super helpful and willing to help, they don't have the ability, first, to do what they need to do, and second, they don't have the ability to call back when they know you have a problem, they know they have the solution, they know you're waiting for the answer, but they can't call back. And if the line cuts, well, at the end of
Right.
it, let's restart. And they probably feel as agent like they wasted an hour of their
Totally.
life.
Totally. And a little pickup on that. The next person I talked to said, oh, I see what he did in the notes here. He started doing this and he picked it up and he was going to send the case back to himself. I have no idea what he was doing. You can't do that. I don't know what this is. So it's just
Different
like
training.
different training. This guy obviously had been around. If that call hadn't dropped, I probably wouldn't be on the hook for this big ass fee I'm on the hook for.
And there's another. I see too many problems. I see another two big problems. The first one is around vocab. When you need your customers to know the exact technical word to use, this is not a billing issue. This is a charge issue. When
Right.
you need your customer to have that level of knowledge, again, there is something seriously wrong about your customer service, because the customer should be able to use whatever way of speaking that he has, and the agent should be able to understand where to direct the problem. The fact that you end up in a dead end because you said billing versus charge, that's really, really, really
Yeah.
wrong
Yeah.
again.
The minutia of their structure shouldn't be my problem.
Exactly. And the last one, it's probably not the last one, but the last I'm going to cover, and it's probably the worst one for me, is the fact that there are probably two layers on this. The fact that you put your customer in a situation where he feels trapped, meaning I've been charged already. If you really care about your money, spend 10 hours on the phone, call me 25 times, figure it out, or just give up your money. But you're really trapped. You know you're in the right, but there is no way you can do anything about it. And this feeling is absolutely terrible. And that brings me to the second layer of that same problem, which is putting people in a situation where by default you consider the customer is wrong. And in a typical company, when you do this, you usually run out of business pretty quickly. I love the example of Amazon that by default consider there is a default with your product. If you ask to return it, we won't question whether you are an honest person or not. And probably if you try to trick the system 10 times, the system is going to block you and figure out we won't accept any return from you anymore. I have no idea whether that's how Amazon works or not, but I'm imagining that they don't let you trick the system too many times. But by default, they consider you are honest. Here's the exact opposite. By default, they consider they are right, you're wrong, nothing we can do about it. And I find it absolutely terrible.
It's back to your loyalty program point.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Boy, I feel
better. I don't think I'm going to sign up there. I don't think I am.
No. You don't want to. You really don't. There's a lot of other wonderful things about the United States, but that ain't one of them.
Can you keep us updated? I'd love to hear the end of that story I will. 6 or 8 months time.
We need to figure out a way to do some follow-ups. I'll do we'll see what happens with the other. Yeah. Well, thank you. I truly needed this more than any other call we've had yet.
Perfect. Then I hope that helped some other people as well. I wish you have a beautiful week, and let me tell you my nerd story next week then.
Sounds great. Okay. Thanks, Julien.
Thanks, Max. Bye.